This conference will now be recorded.
At this time, I'll call to order the September 30th, 2025 work session to order at 6:30 p.m. Any additions or corrections to the agenda tonight before we get started? If not, would anyone like to make a motion to accept the agenda as written?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Counselor Weller. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Motion carried. We'll move right into the discussion. Street improvement plan. Everyone have a copy of basically what the topic for tonight? So.
If you want, you can read it.
Okay.
You want to read it, or you can read it aloud, or you can.
Would you like me to read it?
Sure.
Okay. At a prior city council meeting, residents that live off East Street and Springboard Avenue stated their frustration with the condition of East Street and Springboard Avenue. Council asked for a report detailing the issues and options for bringing those streets into fair, good condition. Attached to this report is a map outlining the ownership of the right-of-way areas in this section of Vernonia. The blue outline section is owned by the city of Vernonia. The orange outline section is owned by the Hollenbach Family Trust. The properties that use this roadway either have an outright easement documented or prospective easement, as they have been allowed to use it for access for 7 years or more. The yellow outline area is owned by the property owners adjacent to road property. The yellow area was designated as public right-of-way when the developer segregated the land parcels into home sites, but kept as a private road that is listed in the adjacent properties title reports. All those properties are part of a maintenance agreement between themselves. The sections in the yellow area where frontage improvements are being installed would be accepted by the city as they are being put into according to city public works standards. For either the orange or yellow road areas to be accepted by the city and come into city ownership and responsibility, the roads would need to be brought up to the minimum city standards and then legally transferred to the city of Vernonia. This area and its roadways are a many decades complex issue. If council prefers, they could schedule a work session, discuss all the elements, and invite the homeowners interested to attend the work session. And that's where we're at right now. So, welcome to all the pretty good turnout, it looks like. I haven't been down to Springboard for quite a while, but I know it's increased in home ownership down there, and so welcome. So
we do have some people. Robert, the neighbor who voiced this, originally he called me and he was out ill.
okay.
So, which is why I asked for a second agenda. So he sends his regrets and apologies that he's not able to be here, but he's sick.
Okay. So I guess I'll turn it over maybe to staff, or I'll open it up for the public if they have any questions. If they'd like to direct staff, or do you want to?
I think that, do you have any questions for staff concerning this? First, and then we can, and then definitely have public.
Go ahead, Dale.
So I'm not sure if everybody's on the same page, but to me, it looks like for these property owners, there's options. But the bottom line is, before the city would accept, we have to bring it to a certain standard for And there's little spots, well, and the developer up there right now, there's plotted right of ways, but they're not city streets. We're not liable for those. They have to bring them up to standard. But there's different options that these folks could use to do that.
Well, there's one option is that they bring those streets up. So I realize that Josette did the yellow that just kind of does the existing streets. But this entire area that we call the Springboard area, in 1996, the city allowed Jim Brunsman to create private streets in there instead of him actually building the streets, which was fine and perfectly legal. And the city said, well, any streets that get built in here are going to be private streets owned by anybody, jointly anybody that owns these properties. So initially it was him, and it was against all of these properties. And they got sold off and developed. But anybody who owns property in there is all equally responsible for those roads. I don't think the city would do that today. That was, because here we are 30 years later dealing with this. And so, but that is what's happened. And it wasn't anything that was, everything was above board. Mr. Brunsman owned that entire area. He came to the city. The city said, you can build private streets in there, but all of these, and now you've all got that in those deed restrictions with that maintenance agreement and ownership of those private roads. And so the one option is to bring those roads up to a minimum standard. And I believe Josette would have to speak to this, but I believe the city engineer has had the 24 feet of asphalt and proper grading and stormwater ditching or management, whatever that was. And then the city would accept that as city infrastructure, and that would be that.
Isn't there, they could pull the resources and just fund and do it.
Yes.
But they could also, can't they form a improvement
Yes,
district?
I guess they could form a local improvement district.
Which then goes on your taxes.
Which goes on your taxes. That being said, I believe the process is that city council has to accept that. And the city has to front the money to do those improvements, and they repay it to the city through their taxes, right? So the city has to have that money up front, right? To
Take a loan.
or just have the money in the streets or put it in the budget somehow and do the work, and then the city gets paid back.
Right.
Yeah. So there has to be, council has to approve a local improvement district, and the money to do the work has to be there up front. Yeah.
And when we've talked about this before on the other part of town that kind of spread, and you folks need to understand that we had to make some pretty big decisions here about 2-3 years ago. We spent probably a year and a half going round and around because of just scenarios like this, because we have developers and then we got individual homeowners, but we can't discriminate. You can't say he's got to do this, but no, you don't. And so
Well, it needs to be.
that's why everybody gets stuck with the same burden. I think when we talked about this, Josette kept saying that if we did an improvement district, the lenders have to accept that onto the mortgage and tack that into the mortgage.
I don't know if that's I don't know that that's been.
Well, there is language if something like that comes in. But what it would, that is not the normal way to do it. Like mortgages it would normally be that it would be put on taxes.
Well, a lot of mortgages include the tax.
Well, I know, but that would just be, but they have to add that to escrow. That isn't adding it to their,
I don't know if that's accurate because for me, it's my homeowner's insurance that I had to add a rider for that to happen. It's not my mortgage.
That'd be a good question for either Josette or our city or our
Yeah.
attorney.
so how those would work is,
But either way, it would be prorated over a term.
correct.
Yeah.
But the money to do it had to be there up front. Somebody has to front
Right.
that money up.
Yeah.
But there are different ways to do it. But I think the normal way with, if everybody in the area, or I think it's a 66% of the landowners agree to a local improvement district, then that could be created. But it would more than likely be a scenario where the city did the work up front, had the money, did the work, and then through that local improvement district and the property taxes over 5, 10, 15 years, whatever it would be, it would get paid back.
How many properties are in Springboard now?
Not counting duplex.
There are 3 duplexes currently occupied, 3 more being prepped.
Okay,
The road is being prepped
and
around.
then single dwelling?
So there'll be 3 more duplexes. Currently, there's 6 families, average 2 kids each, 3 cars each.
So,
And that's just on 300-foot of road.
so what about the single family dwellings?
So there was, before the duplexes, there's what, 9 families that live back there.
Yeah.
9?
East or-
9 residents?
Yeah.
Okay,
But there's still undeveloped parcels that could be developed,
Yes.
sure.
single family homes.
So that's the question, single family homes. So how did duplexes get built on lots that were Jim Brunsman?
No, I'm saying aside from duplexes, they could be built, I'm just clarifying, that's not what I
I
said.
know, I said single family homes, that brought it to my attention, but I was under the agreement that when Brunsman made those lots and sold them, that they were for single family residences.
I checked into that. I asked Josette and I asked, and what it turned out was that the codicils, the deeds down in there were never put through either the county, the city, the county, or the state. And so it's a private agreement according to the city of Vernonia. Now, no one complained, no one sued. That codicil has been broken. That is no longer valid. So the codicils to the deeds down in the Brunsman property are no longer valid. They've been broken and unchallenged for 3 years. It's done.
We had no idea what was happening. I didn't know it was new.
Well, and so, yes, and so what we're speaking about are CC&Rs against a piece of property. So if somebody does a subdivision and they say, well, just like Jim did when he sold those properties off, no manufactured homes, single family, all of that.
Yeah.
That's a deed restriction against the property. And if somebody has an issue with that, or enough of the property owners have an issue, that is a private legal issue, like you mentioned.
Yeah, it's
Um,
becomes civil. No,
Right,
no.
yeah, it's not something that the city could legally enforce. Whereas there's a couple subdivisions in town where they had, obviously, like the house, they had different house requirements, no manufactured homes. That was part of the subdivision process that the city approved
some cities partially.
And we have to enforce those
Understood. I just
CCNRs.
wanted to make it clear that
So-
those codicils are just.
And that's a private issue. I could go and file a deed restriction against my own property, saying that some ethnic group or religious group couldn't legally own my property in the future, right?
Yeah, no, never.
That is legally recorded. And if somebody had a problem with that, they would have to take that up with the courts, but the city can't enforce those sorts of restrictions.
I understood. It's just that once the duplexes were put in and no complaints were made, basically.
Well, I can't speak to the city is not going to speak to any legal, whether there's still a legal issue to be made or not. That's not the city's
I've looked into
issue.
it because I own the lower half of Jim Brunsman's property.
Yeah,
The giant swimming pool with
Yeah.
the trees.
So,
You've had that for quite a while.
Yes. And a question maybe everybody else would like an answer to, if someone has a rough answer, is the price per foot of that road, berm, sidewalk, that the rest of that 60-foot right of way. How much a foot does that 24-foot road and the city required sidewalks, berms, all that, which don't do anything, because without that number, there isn't anybody here who can make a decision on that. And even if it's rough, it's only 10,000 a foot, or whatever. I mean, I sit and watch them pour the concrete, the number of crews coming in. I don't see for myself being interested in putting a concrete roadway and sidewalks up East Street, up to Weed and across. And if you don't do the whole thing, what's the point? It's kind of like what we have there now. I understand to an extent the city's position in this. You've got rules you got to follow when you're administrative. But for me, that's basically my life. That is my entire savings account. And so all of these things, there are simple things that could be done. The part of West East Street that does not follow the rules that was put in anyway and actually changes the property lines there. There is one pull-off section that nobody uses when they added the new sewer. They put a little piece there, but the people there aren't used to that kind of a one-way road. So simple things would be to simply improve the pull-off so people using the one lane can do that. So in terms of actual use, I think there's a lot of other ways around it. I don't see the city or myself or any of the neighbors I've met ponying up the kind of money it takes to put in that roadway. And so, knowing some of these other options is very valuable to us. And for folks that don't live down in the hole.
and I don't believe, so again, I think that's what Dale was alluding to, is that a couple of years ago, we changed the rules.
Yes.
Your new development, and it isn't just Terry there with his block, but everywhere up on North Louisiana, anywhere where anybody is building, you're putting in the curb and gutter and everything else. For the city to accept ownership of like West or G Street and Springboard and West E, again, the minimum is just the 24 foot of pavement with the proper. So We're not expecting, sidewalk, curb and gutter, even though, most of those houses did sign a waiver of remonstrance against frontage improvements. That's kind of a weird situation there because it was already like private roads with this kind of weird agreement.
Well, those were platted roads from the 1800s,
Yeah.
right? So I don't understand why you take ownership because I don't own what's in front of my property. I have a maintenance agreement to put some gravel down once in a while, but I don't own it. It's not on my title report. There's 60-foot swath that somebody else owns, right? That the road.
You do not own yes, it is public right of way, but that agreement
Taxes
that,
on it. I don't understand why.
but
How
Jim,
can I transfer something that isn't on my title?
you're not transferring it. It's whether the city physically owns the road and
Right.
maintains it and the public does it. That's what Jim did. The city told him in 1996, you paved these roads. You put in curb and gutter, sidewalks, and the whole 9 yards. And Jim Brunsman came to the city and he said, listen, how about this? I'm going to put in private gravel roads and I am going to file this maintenance agreement and ownership of the roads in the public right of ways so that I don't have to do that. He kicked the can down the road. That is
I understand that portion of it, but I don't understand it. We don't physically own that 60 feet.
but all of the owners who have that deed
Yeah, I understand.
restriction
We're supposed to.
physically own the road. You physically own the road.
Right.
So,
Improvements.
But as far
Yes.
as transferring property, we can't transfer property because we don't own
you're not
We would get
transferring
out of our
property.
right. We would get out.
Yes, the city would
I
accept
understand all
that.
that. So in front of, or all around the duplexes, that city's going to maintain all that, right?
Yep, we own that.
Right, exactly. So I understand how that works. I just don't understand when you say transfer the property to, we don't own anything.
You physically, yes, you,
No, hold on.
oh,
The materials the road are made of, not the land under.
not the land underneath, physically the road.
Right.
So here's another good example. Up at Roseview Heights, if anybody go out to the end of Rose Avenue and go up into that area, those are public right of ways. The homeowners association physically owns the road. The city doesn't maintain that. So when they want to repave or they need to fix their road, they own it. The difference with that is that with that homeowners association, they have a lot stronger in their homeowners association agreements, they have a lot stronger language and people are required to pay in every year into a fund as part of living there. That's another one of the lacking issues with what I call the springboard area, is that it's just kind of this 2-page agreement that's filed against all the properties there that just says, we own the roads, we're responsible for it.
Right.
There's no way for, and I know that Robert, that's kind of one of his frustrations. I've talked to him, I know Josette's talked to him. There really isn't maybe a legal mechanism by which somebody could compel the whole group to legally come together to solve the issue. And again, that's like I said, like the city would never, this is a prime example of why the city would never allow this. I mean, 1996 in Vernonia was a very different time.
So, okay, so the city's going to own from West 8th Street to down Springboard to West F Street and back up. I assume that's what, Second? Or, no, that's First Avenue?
Mhm.
Is that what it's going to be named?
That's actually, technically, that's called Hungry Horse Lane.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So whatever its name is, right? So they're going to own that loop that goes around.
anything that Terry is putting in, curb and gutter.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. So from that point, from the corner of Springboard and West E Street, where the pavement's going to end, out to Weed Avenue to the Hollenbeck truck, that's owned by, the road is owned by any of the residents down there, correct?
Or, no, every single person who has that deed restriction.
Okay.
So jointly, you all own that.
So jointly, if we threw some loads of pit run in there and made it straight out to Weed, that'd be okay, right?
Isn't that the wetland issue there?
Well, yes, that
What
would
if
be,
there's a bunch of pit run in it?
well, no.
You talk about the power line right away?
Yeah.
Yeah, or where the line is.
Where the road is supposed to go.
So just to be
Where it should
clear,
have been put.
any improvements
Yeah.
that you want to put in do have to be engineered and approved by the city to meet city requirements. And then once those improvements are done and they meet the requirements, again, that's when the city takes ownership and says, we physically own this road. But you can't just go and start dumping pit run there. That's not acceptable. You need to have the proper permits and that was the same thing. When Jim did put in the gravel roads and grade all that, he did get engineering for all. He did have that. I don't know if it was engineered, but it was approved. There was a plan and it was approved by the city, even for the quote unquote private roads.
Okay.
Additional question, sorry if I
No,
interrupted.
go ahead.
If I were to put one house on one lot on my property or on Springboard, anywhere down there, do I have to put in 20 foot of blacktop and curbing and sidewalks and berms for the one unit? And if that's halfway down my property, which is still buildable, so I'd have this neat little 20 foot by 100 foot, well, 75 foot maybe, of blacktop and curbing, and that would be it.
Yep. And then you would be not responsible for that. The city would take,
City accepted.
yep, the city would accept it and then it would be public property and then any repairs or to anything.
Once I do that and put in that 20 foot, then the other property only has to put in 4 foot of blacktop and so, well.
Yeah.
It's half pre-proven, right?
Yeah. I mean, I can't get into the details of that, but yeah, I mean, that would be, they would have to put in the frontage improvements, whatever was required. So you're saying like across the street?
Well, I'm saying, well, where Terry put in is putting in the 6 duplexes. Across the street from that, there's 3 buildable lots, or 300 by 100 lots. But they only have 4 foot of pavement that they have to put in and curbing.
Yeah. Yep. So Terry's kind of, I mean, doing a little bit of a favor for,
So frontage improvements actually are 8 feet of asphalt, sidewalk,
Yeah.
and gutter.
yeah. So yeah, I think she's correct. So there would be it would be more than 4 feet,
8 feet.
but it would have to complete the full
Yeah.
road cross section, the
Right.
gutter and
You've
sidewalks.
already got 20 foot of
Mhm.
blacktop and
Yeah.
tarmac, and so only 4 foot. And then, of course, the curbing, the berms.
Sure, whatever it takes to complete the cross section. I don't know how much.
Thanks. Okay, so my
I'll
question
get to
is he paving part of Springboard? Yes.
Yes.
Is he paving part of Springboard?
Yes.
How is he doing that when we own it?
He's part owner also.
So if we were to make improvements, So, but,
Sorry,
okay,
can you state your name real quick? So I have it.
Katrina
Thank you.
Berger. So he owns part of it too, but he doesn't have our permission to do that. Doesn't he have to have our permission to do that? Or our agreement?
No, you could, no, because we're actually requiring him as part of building because council has made has made a change. You could do your half street improvement in front of your property and you don't need the rest of the people in that agreement. And then there again is kind of part of the issue with the 2-page restriction or private road and maintenance agreement that was filed against all of those properties. There's no conditions like that. Let's say that the city allowed something like this to happen today. It would be a legal document this thick detailing every little bit and piece of everything. And that's, again, part of the problem with what happened 30 years ago. If you want to do the half street improvement in front of your property and get out of your responsibility or partial responsibility, you can do that.
What do you mean partial responsibility?
That you are doing the frontage improvements in front of your property.
Okay.
So an individual, nobody else agrees, nobody else wants to do it, but you're like, you know what? I just want to put in the pavement, curb and gutter and sidewalk in front of my property
Okay.
and then have the city accept that.
I'm not worried about the city accepting it. Okay, so what I'm worried about is that's gonna be very awkward for our road when we drive down and then all of a sudden go from gravel to this concrete or whatever pavement and then back down back down the gravel. And then also, how is it gonna work out where, when that does get paved, how are the buses, how are we gonna get to and from our houses? That's the only road. There's only one way in and one way out. So if he's starting to pave Springboard, is that gonna get done in one day? Like, I mean, how are we gonna go from, getting our kids off to school and.
Well, okay, so I can't speak to that other than to say when road work happens, the people the professionals that do it, they cannot block access
Okay.
legally. So they've got to set up flagging or come up with a plan to do it. You will not be cut off.
Okay, because it's one lane. So I don't understand how I don't even understand how that's possible.
Not enough school.
I don't either.
I
I'm
think
not
Literally,
a construction guy.
And we tried to drive by, we couldn't even get by either of the school buses, because the guy putting in the fiber was right there. So is he gonna say, so when he paves that, is he gonna say, oh, you guys can, like, all these duplexes that aren't gonna have enough room and have like 3 cars, are they gonna be allowed to park on that road? If it's a one-lane road and they park on it, how are we gonna get around?
So it should be 28 feet-ish, I think 28 feet wide when it's paved. 28?
I have a partial for that. That is, that I don't know if you noticed, but the road is going all the way around the duplexes. It is set to the curbing
it's like
now.
a circle.
That will be paved. If that's paved, then you can come around that way and go up.
And so I would just
So there will be
you cannot legally, under state law, block access. So if somebody's doing construction or doing something, we see all this going on with the crosswalks in town. They got to have flaggers. They have to have the ability for people to come and go. I would say that if there's any kind of construction or other activity going that blocks access, please call City Hall. because it will be
I think
dealt with.
it was like 20 minutes.
I
So-
think Joe was gracious enough to open up his gate in right away.
There's no gate. no right-
Oh, there's no more gate.
It's fenced in.
I thought
Been
That was
fenced
during
up.
the sewer.
when we did the sewer,
That's different. They're not going to.
Okay.
They don't apply.
But now there's no access.
okay,
So here is kind of another like long-term issue that I think that people would like to know about. And that is the connection of West G Street into Weed Avenue.
Yeah, I do not want that.
Well,
That's right in front of my house.
unfortunately, that is,
And that's what.
long-term is probably, long-term, that is probably going to happen. The city continues to work with the Hollenbecks on, Weed Avenue there up to Fairway Lane and beyond. And I know that's kind of one of the issues is having multiple accesses into that neighborhood. I know that, West E Street and the S curve wasn't ideal, and wasn't really well thought out for
No,
the
but-
development of.
I mean, it wasn't great, but we managed, we kind of, knew what
Yeah.
to do and everything, and you add all these duplexes and everything else, and it's a nightmare. I'm constantly like having to back up and reverse through that S curve because people don't know how to wait or to watch, or whatever, and it's extremely, extremely frustrating. And I personally don't really want to give the streets over to you guys because I don't want a road punched through right in front of my house. And I know that the people that live down that road also feel the same way. So, I have no problem, helping to maintain the road. I've done it. I will continue to do it. I don't have a problem with that. Our main issue, honestly, was really before the duplexes went in was all the dust and, how to fix that. But now these duplexes have come in and you're adding way more cars, way more traffic. And the one way going down East Street, West East Street, it's dangerous and it's not feasible. It's just flat out not feasible. So I don't know, I don't know this Terry guy. I've never met him. It'd be nice if he came or we could get to know him or talk to him or something because, that way we could maybe work out, hey, we can all get together, maybe try to pull in to make the roads better, and widen it, but I don't personally want to give it over to the city. But I have these concerns, that it's dangerous. There's not enough room. And, when we do need to add more gravel or whatever, how are we going to get in touch with Terry? Like, how does that work? Like, does he have to help us pay for it? Because he's a part of it, right?
Well,
Like
he
you
is,
guys
he is,
said.
he is a part of it. But you guys, again, that's why it's not a very strong, it's legally binding to all those properties down
Right.
there. But again, there isn't the provisions and other stuff that you would see in like a modern, like maintenance agreement or something that would be a very thick
Sure,
with like
yeah,
legal
no, I understand
remedies and people paying in
Right.
and stuff like that. So that is a private civil issue.
So we would have to somehow.
And get in touch with everybody. And there's, you don't have to ever, you could just, you can get it approved and pave and put sidewalks, curb and gutter, the whole thing, and just say, we're going to own it ourselves and maintain it ourselves. And the city would say, okay, that's fine. So, I don't know that you have the same, feeling as other people. I would just say that it doesn't matter whether it's the duplexes or single homes going in. people own that land and they have the legal right to do it. Harold has 12 home sites. So he could put in 24. He could put in 24 duplexes if he wanted. And he has a legal right to do that.
Right.
And
I just
so-
think if you're putting all these houses in and everything, and you have a single gravel road, you should be responsible
Well,
for widening it and making it safe for people to pass through if you're gonna put that many homes.
And I feel that that's absolutely legitimate. But at the same time, again,
It's not a requirement.
30 years ago, the landowner decided he was going to do this and put this deed restriction on all of those properties that access off of West E Street. And so that, you know, the city's hands are kind of, you know, kind of tied behind our backs at this point. And I'll just throw this out there. You know, the city does have system development charges that we charge against homes, and we have a fund. It is, and they pay into water, sewer, stormwater, parks, streets. That money is there for when there is increased capacity into an area. And that's the only time that those funds can be used. If all of the neighbors, all of the people who were bound by this agreement were to come together and get, you know, G Street and Springboard and come up with a plan for West E, maybe even reconfigure for that, like you were talking about, the street into that, the city could have funds available to support that effort.
I think that
Well, I think that was one of the things that Josette wanted to bring up this evening.
It wouldn't be
I
all of
was
it.
going to bring it.
It wouldn't be all of it. But here's the problem with,
It's mostly East Street.
yeah, no, and it would be, and fixing the, and
Plus it goes on somebody's property, right? So even if we wanted to do something to it, that.
no, we actually, as part of the stormwater, that all got dedicated to public right of way. So now it's wide open for us to actually do that now.
Okay, good.
So the city was looking forward in
Yeah,
that regard.
Okay.
So
that's good.
here's the thing with SDC money. We have the money, and we run into this all the time when people want to develop and they say, well, what is the city going to do for me?
Right.
That's not how SDCs work. It would be, here's the engineering to bring, you know, G Street and Springboard and E Street up to minimum standards for the city to accept it. We're prepared to move forward and do this regardless. And then you come to council and then council evaluates it, or, you know, and instructs like the city engineer to say, okay, this is the portion we're going to pay for. And I've run into this for 20 years at the city is people come in when they want to develop and they're like, well, what are you going to do for me? How much of the SDC money are you going to put up front? What are you going to do to fix my problems ahead of time? That's just not how it works, right? And especially a situation with this, with like privately owned roads, the landowners need to come up with a solution. And it doesn't have to be the full solution, but at least like a preliminary design. This is what we want to do. Then come to council so that they can discuss it. They can have the city engineer look at it and say, this is how much we can afford and how much we can do. So there are funds for the city to increase capacity on East Street coming off of Weed. And I don't think that council would have any problem looking at that and funding a project like that. But there has to be a plan coming in ahead of that. It can't just be,
So we would need to get together.
Yeah,
and
it
get
can't just be-
engineering involved and-
it can't just be the homeowners there being like, well, what's the city going to do for us up front? Right. That it just doesn't work like that. And they're not going to be able to work in that capacity. But there are opportunities for, and the city does have money specifically for increased capacity when you're talking about a bunch of duplexes or when Harold's properties get developed. He says it's for his kids. And so as long as he's breathing, you don't have to worry about that. But someday there's probably going to be more houses going in down there, you know, at the bottom.
I had another question that he'd been wanting to ask in the back. Sorry. Then I'll get to you next, ma'am. Here.
Can we have this maintenance agreement delivered out to everyone? Because I've never seen that when we purchased the property. And then on top of that, what I was trying to figure out, so you're saying that we own can do what we want with the road that's in front of our property. So I live on 1077, so I'm right next to East Street and then the first corner of Springboard. Is there any legality that I can put in place through a civil matter if I feel like the construction of the duplexes is causing excess wear on the road?
Yeah,
Or
that's
destroying the traffic? Because the road's pivoting, we're having construction trucks, cement trucks, every truck underneath the sign coming through, and if no one's gonna maintain it, because right now, I don't know what the benefit is of us all paying for this pavement and then just giving it to the city without any promise of maintenance, irrigation, repairs. I see roads in town that look god awful.
Yeah, they're responsible for Weed Street. Sorry, but.
Why would we pay for all this? It's gonna be a lot of money just for us to give it away and have no maintenance.
So it is if you look in your homeowner's documents and your title report, that it is part of it. I've actually looked at several properties deeds.
Yeah, if the document's not actually there should be reference to the booking
Yeah.
page, which would be in the county.
Yeah, you can.
Mine says, look at exhibit A or B.
It will be if you look in your homeowner's documents in your big stack of papers you got, it's in there. I guarantee it's in there.
Yeah.
We changed that ourselves. You're saying this thing was built 30 years ago, the package was built. If we all got together and wanted to make it more legally binding, could we do that and file it with the city and hold everyone in the street accountable for this legal?
You would have to contact an attorney to, I can't answer that.
It's all civil.
Yeah, it's all civil.
Anything we want to challenge, we want to go to what his name is, that built Terry. We want to go to Terry and have him pay for something, we feel it's excess where that's all civil matters.
We'd have, again.
Improvements, we have to go through the city to be able to approve the engineering and work before we have it done.
If you want, yes, if you want the city to accept it to become private property. But that should be a problem. So if you are seeing, if you're seeing excess wear and having problems because of construction equipment and trucks and stuff like that, if that was a publicly owned street, and we have actually done that and continue to do that in other parts of town, we can't, again, that's part of this issue where this agreement was done, so I would, instead of, I say it's a civil issue, but if, something can be done, I feel like going to Terry and being like, hey, we don't want to all we can't all afford to get an attorney, but we need some relief on these issues while construction is going on.
Right, well, Gisette told me that that's what Terry told her he would do, was to maintain and put the gravel down, because he knew that was gonna happen, and initially he did. But then as soon as like the sewer got put in and all that stuff, he stopped putting in any extra gravel or any of that.
What section are you talking about?
E,
East Street, West East.
East, where the jog is?
for the what?
Where the jog is?
The jog?
That curve off.
Yes, that thing. Well, to know the whole of E Street, so you come down, I mean, that, because he goes from Weed to E Street and then just comes right into the duplexes, like it's just a straight shot. So that whole road, whole of E Street, West E Street, has been, it's gonna get really bad this winter. But yeah, he was like putting in gravel and doing things on occasion, filling in potholes and stuff as he was building.
So this is the section that the city dug up for the sewer, or no?
No, it's past that.
Yes.
Past the jog, it's the straight stretch.
We also dug.
Well, they dug through
We
that.
talk about that
Dug
up
up
too.
too.
Is it?
So the
Okay.
section, what I'm getting at, is the section that was part of the sewer project, I can have the guys add gravel. I did that before when it was only the big pit run.
Yeah.
I'm the one who initiated them to put gravel on there. So I'll try and keep an eye on it because I drive down there for Terry's, because I do the permitting. I can have him or have staff add gravel to it. It won't be, 3 truckloads of crushed
Right.
gravel, but they can come fill in holes.
Something,
Yeah.
something needs, especially when it turns there. It's,
And if I don't notice it, just call and we can put in a work order.
Okay, yeah, because then going down to the road or going down when you go that S curve and you go down in the winter time, it is, when it gets wet or icy, it's very, very dangerous.
Yeah, but because of what we did, we can maintain it.
Big rock that is exposed now at this point.
Yeah. And I feel like if, again, just as neighbors who are all part of this agreement, I don't think that if anybody was to go and talk to Terry and say, hey,
And he's listed, so he's not hard to find. He won't give you his number, but it's online, so.
yeah. And I know he's up there every day. I actually see him go up Weed Avenue. So I again, just friendly advice, just to say, hey, can we get some of this filled in or graded? And I know that you had questions.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
When you say a plan to have the city accept using some of those funds for some of the improvements, what level of plan? You say meet together, I think we need to have a more specific, an informal plan of we got together, you want us to have estimates, you want us to have engineering, what level?
You would need an engineer for basic planning. Normally, kind of projects like this, or when somebody does a subdivision, there's usually phase 1, where it's just, this is the concept, this is what's going to take. They're not actually doing the full engineering with the detailed drawings for the construction crew to work off of, but it's just kind of a phase 1. So if the homeowners were all to get together and hire an engineer to do kind of a phase 1 plan for what all of the pavement would look like for G and Springboard. And
I don't think anybody wants to mess with G and Springboard. It's more of Springboard in that section. That section.
okay, well then just
Whatever
get
section you decide.
get a plan for that, and then come to council and be like, this is what we're looking at. What can we do with system development charges?
Can we ask Terry to be a part of it since?
Well, he has a legal, I'm not getting, I can't get into the legalities of who owes what with this agreement, but he is definitely part of that agreement.
Whether or not he wants to participate.
Yeah.
Did you say Springboard and E?
Between Springboard and meet
Yeah.
West East.
So they're just talking about straightening this out and getting this fixed.
Or making it two ways, one goes up, one comes down. and they-
That would follow the power line.
But even where that jogs down, it's still one way till you get to Springboard. So you
Right
would
here.
need to widen that whole.
Right here, Ben.
Yeah.
Fill in that.
Yeah.
And there's some, below.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but that's where it requires a plan.
But we're kind of driving on people's, it's not actually, I think it's like a easement, yeah. So we kind of drive on everybody's easement a little bit to get around if there's multiple vehicles. But it's the West East Street that doesn't have the right sign out front of it. Bugs me because people, the two people.
So here's the thing, you can, to your point, if you just want to maintain G Street and Springboard privately as a group effort, but you just want West E to Springboard to be upgraded for that capacity for width, then again, that's all of the landowners in that area are responsible. But if you can come up with like that phase one plan, what's this going to look like? And then come to council and say, hey, this is a capacity issue. We're putting in these 14 duplexes total. There's another, 12 to 14 home sites down below that eventually could be developed. And then, I can't speak for council, but I don't think that, it's unreasonable for them to look and say, this is a capacity issue. And we have those SDC funds to help with that. But it isn't, again, it can't be the city's just going to do this, right? There has to be a neighborhood effort or the people who are legally bound going into this and coming up with at least an initial plan to bring to council.
You can only do that if we give the city back the property or the road, right? So you only fund that if we offer up the road to the city after the project.
East Street.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then,
But but then you're off the hook for that section of, you're off the hook. That all of you homeowners in that area are off of the hook for that. The city owns it and we maintain it forever.
You had a question?
Well, I'm one of the runners in one of the duplexes. And so I just-
welcome. We have no qualms with you.
And I see, the way people going to work everywhere. And what I see is not the trucks that are causing the holes that are in there now, which are up to 3 feet wide, is how fast the people are driving up and down the road, in and out, not just on the pavement, but on the gravel part too.
Yeah, there
So I see them down, and, it's not fair to put the problem on the truck drivers, because they have a job to do, obviously. And they're only have a short period of time, because the people that are coming in and out of work, or they're gonna have, 5 days a week. So I don't see this being solved on just a homeowner issue, because like Mike is on the corner there across from the duplex, and I'm in the first duplex coming in. So, that is a one-way street, and the turn that is going down the little ramp. They're gonna cut that whole wider, and they're gonna put in a 28-foot street. But right now, it's, like she said, it's a single road, and the potholes are getting bigger. So it doesn't bother me, because I'm retired, I don't go anywhere, so I don't have to worry too much about it. But these people are working every day, and
You know, you have to look at it in the long run, maybe, fire truck getting up down there or in a hurry or whatever.
And our school buses go down there every day.
Yep, school buses go down and with more houses come more kids and more school. I mean, right now, how are they even gonna they can't get big school buses down there. They have to bring the little school buses down there. Are you guys gonna get more little school buses so you guys can get down there? Right? No, seriously. Like that becomes your guys' problem.
That's the school and the busing company issue, not the cities.
Oh, really? Okay, well, I don't know this. Okay, so, but again, and yes, you don't see very many trucks right now. You moved in a few weeks ago, but there are gonna be more duplexes put in, and with more duplexes come more construction, come more trucks. We've sat here and watched them all be built. So there is a lot more that comes with it, and I completely agree. There are people that drive way too fast. You should not be doing that. I don't personally do it because we have little kids out that use that road all the time. There's deer and other people driving, and it's just a recipe for disaster. So.
Okay, comment on West East Street. I took care of that for 5 years. I filled in the potholes, I raked it out, I mowed the sides. I stopped doing that. The reason I stopped doing that was people started driving faster. They're coming down at 20 to 25 miles an hour. And the traffic on Springboard makes that right turn like it's a curve in the road. They do not stop and look. They do not yield. They don't even bother looking. I've been almost hit twice coming in because somebody was powering around the corner. So the question that goes with that, now that you know why I quit doing that, is it's people sped up. So I quit mowing the grass on the side.
There is not a stop, if you're going south on Springboard,
No,
there's not a stop sign.
That's
Okay.
a curve in the road.
Okay.
And the question that goes with that is signage. Now, if I put up a sign at the top and one at the bottom that says, caution, one lane road, does the city have a problem with that, or do they have to okay that? And if I put signs.
I would, if you wanted to, again, because it's not city roads and stuff, us putting a stop sign there at Springboard in E Street or putting up the single lane, we really can't do that because of the situation. But I feel if you want to get those signs, again, you guys are a road community, right? You're a community within a community. You're the road community there. If you do that, I would ask that you call and talk to Josette if everybody there agrees and wants to do it, whether you pay for it or anybody else chips in, whatever. I would just ask that you call and just check with the city. Josette is not going to have a problem with that. I would just, as a courtesy.
I can't go and put a.
You could absolutely do it. Or the community could do
And then they
that.
can pull it out if they don't like it. But West East Street is the main road coming in. That is the feed. The other roads are secondary roads, and powering around that, unless something is done, because now we've got another dozen kids on the block, right at the corner, and they play on the blacktop because it's the cleanest place to play.
Right.
That something needs to be done, or there's going to be a double head on, or some kids on bicycles going up the road.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was worried about.
Sam, if you put more gravel, any gravel road on a hill, first of all, you get traffic on it, it's gonna disappear. And the rain doesn't help, so that's why we're getting the potholes.
So
And then you get to drive
again,
too fast.
you're kind of a private road community within a community. So you're free to get signs and, I would caution again to talk to Josette and make sure that what you were putting in was, we've had this happen in the past where people were speeding and they started putting up like their own 10-mile-an-hour signs or 15-mile-an-hour signs on streets, which isn't legal.
Right.
Of course, those are public streets and you run into problems with stuff like that. I don't think there's an issue putting in the proper signage. It's just that I would just check with Joseph.
Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, so I'm gonna break it here a little bit. What is the city's plan for their blue section of Weed Avenue? What are they gonna do about that section? What's in the plan?
Our plan, we have a preliminary engineering plan that the city engineer has done. That is going to get paved. And
From the white trailer south,
right,
that's their property. Right?
yeah, where the city owns it. Part of, we're kind of waiting on the Hollenbeck situation again, which will help inform it. But the city does have a plan to pave that. And then when you come up here on what is currently Weed Avenue, when you get to the tree there just past Wana, that will be one way. And then the coming down the old railroad grade is going to get regraded and paved, and that will be one way. So there will be a one-way loop circuit, and then it will come back into Weed. And then the long-term plan is to have Weed 60 feet. So the city has several large projects. It's not going to be, it's not going to be cheap. It's probably not going to happen soon, but the plan is to have that one-way loop there and sidewalks running all the way up to West E Street. And full curb and gutter and built out. So we actually have a preliminary engineering plan to do that.
Who put in the East Street sign where, Weed meets East Street?
This sign at the junction
Yeah.
of Weed and West East Street, it just says East Street,
Yeah.
doesn't say West East.
So when we have people coming by GPS and they're like, I didn't know that was it because it says.
I don't know who put that in. If the city did.
Yeah,
So,
it's labeled
yeah.
incorrectly.
Well, and
Throws people off.
believe me, I have to deal with the addressing and the streets. Vernonia is an absolute
Oh, I know. It takes them
disaster.
to ABCs.
East to west, north to south, our streets and our addressing is horrible. So we can,
We could put a little W
yes, we could, let's work towards getting we can definitely work towards getting a street sign that says West East Street.
And I noticed when I was having something delivered a couple weeks ago, Mead Avenue, the sign was gone.
It gets stolen.
I was gonna say, that's what I told them, and probably.
There's probably
just
been
like mile marker
20.
69 is always stolen. Yeah.
So
Okay.
as a funny story,
Change the name.
I lived on, when I was in college in Eugene, I lived on High Street.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they couldn't keep any
Yeah.
of those, and being like 3 blocks from the university,
Yeah.
the city was replacing every single one of those street signs every month.
They
So.
just renamed.
I don't get it. No, just.
That was the 70s shows course.
Yes. I had a friend who was like, ooh, I'm gonna steal that sign. I'm like, no, that's my road. They were not stealing it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I was curious. I heard stories, but I didn't know what.
And we would, yes. And so, because the city owned just the little bit, the sliver, the 30 feet that went up to the Wellers there. But then as part of the sewer project, we were able to obtain the rest of that. And so that's where the plan for having the one-way loop and and fixing up eventually as a project, came about. So again, I would like to see it happen tomorrow, but money and
Trying to reduce State Street next.
yeah, we got State Street, we've got Knott Street, North Louisiana
But
connection. Now
it's coming,
Reed.
though.
It's coming though. Eventually it'll happen. So I hope that all of that was very informational, and then, about, ways forward for folks and for the city. But again, it's going to take the neighbors to come together and
it's a firm no on us just filling in the wetland there.
I let the state deal with you.
yeah, I wish we could. You know what? In 1996, I would have said, sure, go for it.
Yeah.
What if we just plug the culvert in the railroad grade and let's let it back up on the road?
Yeah, that'll work.
But
That's funny.
Go ahead, Donald.
So I guess you see where they put the dust control down. And they have another one they call erosion control, where they'll put that down heavier to help hold the rock and stuff in place. You do that about 3 or 4 times and it's almost like blacktop. So
we were trying to figure out, somebody was supposed to give an estimate to Robert on like how much that cost you guys, so that we had like an idea of like, because we don't know how much that costs. And so what I thought, what I was told is that you guys were gonna have it done, and then the people that did it were gonna come out and then kind of even take a look at like East Street, Springboard, and West G Street. And then maybe, try to we were gonna try to piggyback off and get extra trucks to come do that. But that kind of fell through. And I know that's, it's something the neighbors and we've all talked about, because we hate the dust, it drives us crazy, right? So other than dealing with the nightmare on East Street, Springboard, and West G Street, people driving past your house, they're kicking up the dust, that's super annoying. So we wanted to kind of find out, like, how much does that cost? Like, who do we call? Because we also have kids and dogs and animals out there. We want to make sure that whatever we put down isn't going to be, bad.
Yeah.
So
Winter conditions, how is that gravel gonna hold up the winter conditions with having that oil on there? Is it gonna be slick? I mean, we don't know. Never experienced that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you guys want to go up on Top Hill and go on Schofield Road, Washington County uses a bunch of it. So at the very top of Top Hill, you get on Schofield and you go down there a ways. And then if you go straight, it turns into Nowakowski, but Schofield goes to the right. You will see several places where they put that stuff down to help give you an idea what it'll do,
I see the graded, like, it seems like it's graded, almost like there's.
the loose gravel they throw off to the side because it'll keep turning up.
Right.
But they put that down and it will hold the dirt, the dust down and keeps a good road.
Yeah.
Are you saying, Donald, is that different than what they put on weed this summer then? Or is that the same stuff?
Well, some places it's labeled as dust control and some's labeled as erosion control. And I don't know.
This was lignite.
So what was put down on weed? Because I'll be honest, that was horrible.
Yeah, it was bad.
It tore my little car up.
Yeah.
Throwing rocks.
Yeah, and you get stuck, and then when you start driving fast, it's putting rocks everywhere.
I drive slow.
Yeah.
It beat the hell out of my car.
So another option is chip sealing too. And if I remember right, Josette talked about the question Joe had, price per foot. It seemed like it was about $19 for chip seal and then about $45 for blacktop. Does that sound right?
It's about.
I was quoted $8 a square yard to do the chip seal.
Oh,
Yeah, so
$8,
it's $1. It's $1 per square foot. That's
For
what
chip seal.
for chip seal.
Okay.
That's what we did on all the tree streets when we redid the tree
Right.
streets. And asphalt is nearing we just say $4. So
Oh,
when we
$4.
do for like the SCA grants and our other paving projects, we say $4 a square foot, a square foot.
Square foot.
So question back to you,
Midnight
would you rather have the
$2
dust or the flying rocks?
Well, it doesn't bother us because we live down there.
Because I'm telling you,
It's Dennis with the dust. I'm sure.
my son and myself, we ate dust all summer until that got covered.
Yeah.
I've been on that road since 16, longer than almost everyone else here.
But that rock issue was only at the first.
I'm sorry?
That rock issue flinging was only at the first.
Yeah, when they first laid
Beginning
it.
of it.
They did it for 2 straight weeks. Every time they got any moisture, even in the morning, do a
A little moisture, okay.
right back
Yeah,
up
it's
on
when
the
it
cars.
It doesn't matter. It flings it until it's set.
Well, I've been driving Louisiana, but that was, when it was dry, I didn't hear, I mean, I drove it the very first day. It was put on and it was throwing. It coated my fender wells. But the other times I drove on it and it had been dry, it was okay. But I did suspicion if it got damp that it was throwing it.
So I'm just curious about the physics of what's going on here. So when that, whatever they spray is sticky,
It's like driving
rocks,
wet tar.
so rocks stick to your tire and then it flings up. Okay.
So the whole way down,
Okay.
right, I'm throwing it all up in my wheel wells, almost.
Okay. I was just trying to understand the physics of
Off of that on the pavement, I'm still throwing it way down.
Yep. My husband was
47.
funny about it.
I'm
so-
throwing
Not
it all
good.
down.
Yeah.
What was your name?
Randy Clark, with a K.
Okay.
People won't ride your ass.
People on Louisiana loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to get rid of the dust.
Exactly.
Like I said, I've dealt with
Yeah.
it since 16, we moved
Yeah.
in there. I
Yeah.
barely washed our cars.
But they chip sealed that way back when and it tore up. I don't remember when that was done. It's been quite a while ago. And it didn't last.
Right, yeah.
Well, they did it from there all the way down.
Yes. Clear down the fairway. Yep. Yeah.
We might just have to pave it.
Yeah.
The thing about where they put the leg knife down on that section of weed, it's really bonded all of the smalls together. And it left that on top, but that was simply brushed off or had been brushed off before it was put on. I mean, that's not exactly finished gravel road, that chunk.
Right.
It's, pit run, inch and a half minus, and then some fines. It's a little nasty, that section, so you go slow. But the thing is, if that had been rolled out first, that would have sealed up nicely. And I can see in 4 applications, you'd have a chip seal.
Yes.
Basically, so it certainly made a difference up there. And yeah, the loose gravel, because it's all loose on top of that.
Yes.
It's no longer bound to the base. Right, before it was kind of.
Yeah, they put a bigger rock.
Sand.
It wasn't 3/4.
Right, and the big
Oh.
chunks.
Down there.
Yeah, on this stretch.
Oh. Wasn't even 3/4, bigger?
It was bigger than 3/4. It was like 1 inch.
Right.
Yeah, because they went and got it from Longview
Is that where they got it?
instead of Oak Ridge.
Who'd you get quotes from?
We
There's,
direct and maybe adjourn if we're done.
Yeah.
Sure.
or if
And-
council has any last questions for staff, maybe, and then adjourn.
Any other questions? Any other final questions from the public?
When they deal with potholes,
Did all the concerns get brought out? I mean, you got narrow road, fast driving. Was there anything else that we should be made aware of?
Did you write signage down?
Yeah, I
Yes.
got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't personally have anything, and I believe anybody that wasn't here, everything was talked about.
Okay.
I have a question, if I can, my name is Gabby, with SG Street. I just want to know if there would be any estimates regarding paving the roads? How would we go about before we commit, or if we are interested to get it paved, how would we find out the prices and the choices or the options that we would have?
That would be.
I know, I mean, I don't know how many feet do we need to have the roads on G Street paved? Because it doesn't do us any good to just do section and up in front of our home, then you drive from your home, you still have the gravel around you. So it's, more neighbors that would have to be involved, and would they be, able, I mean, are we able to afford this thing?
Right, well, that would be
Yeah.
kind of it. We would need to kind of talk to somebody, find out how much it would cost, and then, we would have to chip in or whatever, I don't.
And then, yeah, you would need to kind of do that yourself. I mean, I've talked to Robert several times, and I know Josette has too, and then, I don't know how neighborly you are with him or whatever, but again, I feel like, everybody trying to get together, trying to get a hold of Terry. I'm sure Harold would be more than happy to see him, and you guys could get a community meeting together and discuss amongst yourselves how you wanted to go forward. I think for everybody there, I think that might be a great way to go about it, to try to get everybody, all of the owners together to have a meeting and kind of discuss your options.
Most of us know each other, and we all pretty much on the same page, definitely hate the dust, and we all have concerns
Well,
with these.
you realize that there's gonna be 300 foot of pavement now.
On
Terry's gonna pave that. He's gonna.
We're gonna make it up for micro business, for a bus stop at the end of the street, where East Street comes in.
So you're talking about, in terms of dust control, really just the end in G Street.
Well, yeah, I mean, Springboard, like past where he's at, there's still multiple houses and around the corner and then down West
Get them
East
to
Street
get
where we
together
live.
on their own terms, I'm sorry.
Right, no, yeah, yes.
So
Yes,
he'll
that is
that
one of-
only on one side.
Right.
I run out in the front yard, if you want to park there, I don't know.
Okay, well, thank you so much for attending, and
Thank you.
I think there was really good exchanges here, so. Thanks, Harold. Thanks, Joe.
Harold,
See why we made the decision.
somebody might check with Terry what it thinks it costs him to do his paving there.
I'm not a friend of him. I know Terry because the third time he blocked my property for 5 hours while I was stuck
Right.
on the.
Maybe one of the other people say, hey, can you check with Terry, kind of get an idea?
Can we, hold on, we're still in a meeting.
Yeah,
Can we at least adjourn?
all back to order.
Can,
Right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, any other questions?
Nope.
Oh, thank you, Ben.
Yeah, no.
For being a big part of this, and if there's no other questions or comments, I will adjourn this meeting at 7:52.